Here.
Michael Murray.
Here.
Richard Yerington.
Present.
John Glenn.
Here.
Mitchell Kale. Sean Zabinski. Lamont Kiefer.
Here.
Nellie Pater. Present. Dean Peterson.
All right, thank you. As a reminder, we will also make sure you have your mics on when you speak, so we have we have a group attending online, so as long as they can hear. We'll move on to the presentation portions of the agenda. We have agenda item number 1, presentation of 2021 audit summary by Clifton Larson Allen.
My name is Brock Guyan, principal in charge of your external annual audit. I'm going to be pretty brief here today. I do have a short summary that I'm going to work through. You should have had that in your agenda packets as well. It covers a lot of the highlights from the 2021 audit. I'm not going to go through everything on there, but if you looked at that in advance, if you have any questions, just go ahead and jump in and you can ask at any time there. So a lot of good information. Could spend a lot of time on every line of this. I'm not going to do that. Just pick out certain things that are pertinent to the year and highlights. So starting with that, let's just work down this report here. On page 1 of the 4 pages, the top section covers the audit reports that we issue along with the audit itself. So the first one talks about your financial statement that was issued. It says here that the amounts, the financial statements are fairly stated. You've received an unmodified opinion, which is you strive to achieve. That means all the other funds here, and again, I'm not going to go through all these couple things. In your special revenue funds, the super fund, I could have hit that row this year. That was closed in 2018, this last year, and then comparative to the general fund. So that's where you see that now. A couple other bigger changes. You have an ambulance fund. You can see that number. This is your year-end reserves, right? This is just your fund balance in total. That went up quite a bit from last year. Your public charges for service for providing the service were up about a little over $500,000 for the year. And the prior year also had a one-time capital outlay, so that's another recurring expense in there of $378,000. So when you factor in those two items, came out pretty much ahead of the game here during 2021 and grew that fund balance. All right, we'll move down to your debt service funds quick. You can see that is your year-end reserves. It's down a little bit from last year. There was quite a bit of activity that happened in your debt service fund this year. You may remember you did some debt refinancing, so you issued new debt to replace old debt during 2021. And you had about $3.2 million of that refunding debt. So when you carve that out and what you have is your normal debt service, your principal and interest for the year paid, you had a slight decrease in your overall reserves because you did dip into your reserves just a little bit to pay for it outside of transfers from other funds like your TIP funds or what you budgeted for levy over there. So nothing to worry about though. You still have over $500,000 to be used for principal and interest in the future budget period. We'll wrap up this page with a couple comments on your capital projects funds. So a couple things here. You do have one normal operating capital projects fund, that first one here, and you'll see that you had quite a few expenditures that you internally financed for the year, just from a cash flow standpoint. That's why you've got a negative in there. Quite a few different projects that went into that. You might remember air handler unit there at City Hall, part of the beginning of the emergency services building, larger individual items like a couple of trucks and a grader, and then about $1.2 million in street projects. So those expenses were incurred prior to the funding of it and drove that fund to a negative number at that period of time at the end of the year. Your other funds are your tax increment districts. And as those funds should happen, you incur expenses up front and you recover over time, right? So these are all general, with the exception of your new fund, TIP fund number 11. That was brand new, just had a little bit of expenses in there. There's no increment being generated in 21 yet, but your other three are generating incremental revenue, tax levy, and paying back those deficits. Go to page 3. And here's your water and sewer fund. First talk about the water fund. First place I always look for your utilities is your net income or loss. are the rates you're charging covering your operational costs for the year? You can see you've got a nice trend here. The water fund came out positive 192,000. And just a comment here, your last time you looked at your rates, or adjusted them rather, was January of 21, so the beginning of the year under audit here. So conclude, obviously something to keep your eye on, but in good shape here for 21. Sewer utility, same type of thing here. We're going to look at your net income or loss. You've got, again, a very nice trend here, larger dollars involved. The third year ago in 2019, this is unusually large. You did have some capital contributions when a utility receives infrastructure or assets and doesn't pay for them directly. It's a revenue item, so that kind of grossed that year up a little bit. Your normalized trend is sitting right around this $900,000 of income. So on the surface, it may seem like a larger number to have year over year, but there are quite a bit of items to think about for this fund. You do have cash flow, so you are paying debt off. So the pure cash flow increase over last year, you were able to increase your cash, but that was only relatively speaking, 304,000 compared to the net income or loss for the year. You are paying a lot of debt. You had about 1.6 million of principal and interest you paid during the year. And you do want to look at investment replacement or infrastructure replacement on this fund. You've got $23 million of net capital assets in there. It would take you over 25 years to pay that, replace that with realizing about $900,000 a year of net income. So just a few things to think about. The good news is you are on top of your sewer rates, and that fund is looking financially healthy. Last fund we'll talk about is mass transit. It is a full accrual fund as well, your last one here. So just like your utilities, we're going to look at your net income or loss for the year. Came out ahead of the game of $64,000. And apples to apples to last year, which did show a little bit of a loss in 2020, which was the COVID year, which had a lot of impact in 20 and rolling into 21. But the big difference here is you received $85,000 more in aid from Wisconsin DOT. So that is the differentiator there between 20 and 21. And then the final note here, this is a summary of your long-term debt obligations that you hold at the end of the year. I did mention earlier you had refinancing, so you did issue new debt to replace old debt. You realized, you will realize over time about a little over $400,000 of cash flow savings due to that activity. You also see a little shift in what's being held at year end here. Otherwise, other than that, you made all your required principal and interest payments. Maybe point this out, I did add this last row into the schedule for WRS net pension asset or liability this year. That was an unsummary last year. And it's going to look a little unusual because it is a negative bracketed number. That tells us that our portion of the overall pension plan administered by the state is technically an asset. That means that that plan is overfunded technically at year end. So unlike the OPEB liability, which is the state life insurance plan, that row right above it, it's a liability of $500,000. You actually have you've recorded an asset on the books of $2.5 million. You're not going to collect that. It's not cash that you'll receive. It's a measurement that the actuaries of the plan came up with, and you brought that, your portion, the city's portion of the overall plan on your books. That's a required due to standards maybe about 5 years ago. So that's what that represents. If you were to look at your financial statement, you're going to see that item in there. So I wanted to include that here and point that out because it looks a little unusual. But okay, overall, that's the highlights for the 21 audit. A lot of real positive indicators, whether it's the results or the financial results for the year. So with that, I'll just conclude and open it up to any questions if there are any.
I have a question regarding the special funds, special revenue funds. Would it be more appropriate for the ambulance fund to be an enterprise fund rather than part of the special revenue fund?
That's a good question. When it comes to activities like the ambulance, a determination is made when it's originated. So I don't have the history of that. At some point when it was established, it was classified as a special revenue fund, which at the time likely was appropriate. When you create a new fund, you look at one thing in particular to determine what type it is. If there was debt issued and being repaid by user fees, it would be required to be a business type or an enterprise fund, treated just like your utilities and the mass transit fund. In which case, the accounting's different. You'd have depreciation in your assets listed on balance sheets, stuff like that. You don't change the determination after it's been established. So to answer your question, this type of fund, you're correct. It could go either way. But at origination, it was determined to be a special revenue fund, and that's the way it's going to be maintained going forward.
Any other questions? I think we're good. Thank you very much for that information. It was very educational.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Nellie and a second by Richard. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the reports, we have the treasurer for agenda item number 3, August 31st, 2022, cash and investments report. Molly?
So the August 31st cash and investments report, not a lot of action. Again, closing out some of these CDs and moving them. We're still working towards getting them over to Ellers. We now have the funds open, just working on getting the funds transferred to their holdings. And there's a bit of a swing in the overall cash. That's because we're starting to draw out those investments that we have at Ellers right now with the borrowings, because we are already paying on the building. So we've made about 1.3 million in the last 2 months, and so that money has come out of our investments and been paid out. Any questions on that?
Question on the building, the 90,000 that was recently put up front by the ambulance service, has that been transferred back?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we do need an approval on this one, right? All right, so do I have a motion to approve the August 31st, 2022 cash and investments report?
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion by Mike and a second by Richard. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4, July 31st, 2022, revenue and expenditures in comparison to budget.
So I guess I'd entertain any questions. As you can see, we're tracking right around that 60% number overall, which is good. Again, that's a little skewed because the bulk of our income comes in the form of taxes, and we have collected all of that. So we will have another large state shared revenue payment, which will come in October. So that'll be another boost in income, but hopefully our expenses are leveling off a little bit too. Any questions on that?
What percentage of the taxes were collected, or what percentage delinquent, I should say?
Yeah, I don't have that. It was around 130,000 that we didn't collect on property taxes. So that is now being collected at the county level and will be paid back to us as we get it.
Any other questions on the expenditures in comparison to budget? All right, we'll move on to agenda item 5, September 2022 treasurer's report.
So just a quick update on Invoice Cloud. We're continuing to have bi-weekly meetings on that. We haven't had any delays, so we're hoping in the next probably 2 months we'll have that rolled out through our website. We're working hard on the budget. We're having a department head meeting tomorrow to discuss any final cuts that we can make as department heads. We're getting closer, but there's still a gap to be found where we can save that money. And then training, the Municipal Treasurers Association held their conference last week. Barb attended that on behalf of the city. I will be going to the Wisconsin Government Finance Officers Conference at the end of this week, so I'll be out of the office. And the theme of that is communicating financial information. So I'm hoping to get some good ideas as to how to present some of this information in a more user-friendly fashion. So hopefully we'll get something good out of that. And then we had some our software training last week as well. So a lot of training, a lot of budget talk. So that's all that I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Any questions for Lauren?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the city clerk, we have agenda item number 6, city clerk monthly report. Becky.
Good evening, everyone. Just kind of a rundown of my report. It's a little longer than normal. I did enter in all of the Andres grants and Thomas B. Earl grants that the city received. There was quite a few on there. Most of the departments, if not all, that had written in for the grants did receive something towards their various projects or reasons that they were asking for them. So we are very, very thankful to have received those, to be able to do some extra projects. I also attended some training. I was at the annual WMCA conference during the week of August 22nd. It was very helpful. There was a lot of, the League of Wisconsin Municipalities was there talking about upcoming legislation that may affect elections, which to have that information up front is really nice because we can kind of prepare for it a little bit. They're wanting to put together almost like a task team of clerks across the state to try and get together and talk about some of these potential issues that are going to go to the floor to vote, and how that they would actually affect the local municipalities and how they run their elections. And so it would be nice that they're getting our input. It's kind of a step in the right direction, I think. So just a few other things. We do have a general election coming up on November 8th. It'll be here at the fire station voting location like normal. And it does have the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general. There's quite a few high profile positions on that ballot. So we expect to have a pretty large turnout. And I did make a decision, kind of rolled it out today. We are going to be using our Badger books for the November election. We have everything we need. I also went to Madison for a day and attended training so that we can use them. I had to do that, otherwise we weren't able to actually roll that out. So we will be having training at the fairgrounds on October 6th, which is a Thursday, 2 weeks from now. So if you want to pop by and take a look at them, I'll have them all out. Otherwise, I will be posting things. There's a video that talks about Badger books and what they are, so that our voters aren't surprised when they get there. And or if they have questions, we'll probably have one sitting out at City Hall. But I'm going to blast it on Facebook. We're going to have it on our, I may call media and have them come in and do a little ditty on it, just so that we let everyone know ahead of time, so nobody's surprised or feels, angry about new equipment that we might have with the election. So
We should get a hold of Greg Hagan.
yeah, I think we probably will do that.
Yeah.
And, whatever we can do to get the word out there. We don't want anyone to be surprised or feel uncomfortable with the new equipment. We want people to come in and vote. We're just trying to make a way to make it easier for our voters to come in and do it quickly and get what they need to get done and go about their lives, and just make sure we're being extra accurate. I think it's extra important these days to make sure we're doing everything we can to have a fair and accurate election. So that's my big focus right now. Other than that, we do have open enrollment coming up next week. So I'm working on the benefits enrollment information for the city employees as well. That's my
Well, hopefully you're talking about having to notify the public so much about Badger books. Hopefully it's really simple.
It is very simple, but there's a lot, people are.
No, I understand that apprehension and
Yeah,
with all the hype about
election.
doctoring elections and everything, you want everybody to know that this is just a modernization of our voting system.
Exactly.
To make it more modern, simple,
I'm just trying to
easy to
be
use.
transparent.
Totally transparent.
Mhm. Yeah, that's all.
What time, October 6th?
It'll be from 10 to noon is when we'll be having the training with our poll workers. So more than welcome to pop by if you'd like. If you're gonna have more than a few of you, you should tell me though, so I can put a notice out, just in case. Any other questions? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to Parks and Recreation, we have agenda item number 7, Tomah Parks and Recreation Program Report. Joe?
Good evening.
Hey, Joe.
I'll make it quick tonight. Parks just busy cleaning up after the busy season so far. We still got rentals, a lot of park users, so a lot of garbage, a lot of bathrooms to clean up still. Summer help has gone back to school or back to college, so busy with that. Winnebago Park project starting to move along a little faster, so we're excited to see that. Today they're really moving some dirt and stuff, so hopefully the next few weeks you'll start to see a lot of action at Winnebago Park. Continue to mow the parks, and fall tree planting will start up here, hopefully late in delivery for the trees, but hopefully this week or next week we'll get our trees and get them out to the community members that have wanted trees. Recreation programs, we continue to paint the soccer, baseball, and softball fields and football fields. We are currently our fall program. We have park rec football, co-rec softball, volleyball, open floor ball, and open gyms. Gymnastics is still on hold. We are in dire need of staffing for that. We just received one applicant on Friday, so hopefully still try to put some fall gymnastics together. If not, hopefully by spring we'll get enough staff to do that. In adult basketball, is we're recruiting for officials. Our big wave of officials have moved on, so we'll be trying to, anybody out there that wants to be adult basketball official on Wednesday night, contact our office for that. Aquatic Center, working on pool closer maintenance and repair of the splash pad. Reminder, we got hit with lightning for our splash pad. We got the part in last week, so we'll try to get that up and running prior to winterization to make sure that it works with that. So, Recreation Park, the Rotary had their rally this past weekend. We have a wedding coming up the first weekend of October, a couple quinceaneras out there, gun show, and then we get to our banquet season and different activities throughout the winter there with banquets and fundraisers and Glenn Miller auctions and so forth. So Glenn Miller has booked 4 auctions coming up this winter and for that. So in Tomah Youth Hockey, a lot of action out there this last weekend and this week. They're making ice and painting the ice center today, and so that'll be full swing out there too. So like I mentioned last month, Paul Steele has taken over as rec park maintenance, so I'll work with him the last 3 weeks on orientation and putting a lot of lists together for that. So it's working out great. So any questions or concerns?
Well, when we bought the property from Mental Block, yeah, over on Council Creek, we were looking at possible disc golf park or course or something. Has anything been done?
Yeah, we got some initial layouts, and with the creek running through it and so forth, the cost to put some bridges and stuff like that just right now might not be affordable, so we'll be looking at some other properties for that, but we'll continue to look at that site for that or other. We had an 18-hole course designed, so we might have to scale back, but we also got some other areas maybe. So, but a few community members are interested in a disc golf course, so we're working diligently on what would be the best spot for that. And, not wet and things like that, crossing over creeks and things. So there is potential, but the cost, and right now we just don't have the funds for that. So. Any questions for Joe? Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Moving on to Public Works and Utilities, we have agenda item 8, Public Works and Utilities Director Report. Kurt.
Good evening. Street Department, we've completed our major paving projects. The last one was down in there by Kelsey's in the elbow room. Turned out very nice. Put down 675 ton this year, so it's quite a bit for us. It's probably our peak and probably where we'll stay, or if not less. Next items on our hit list to get done in town are traffic light poles. So we have a mixed match of stainless, yellow. So we're going to try to transition all those to match the street lights black in color. So those will go up as time allows.
You guys doing that in the house?
Yes. Yep.
I don't know if it's going to be involved.
Yeah. Little learning curve on getting things set up, but we always like to try to do it ourselves if we can. So.
Yeah, I get that.
Working on trying to fill 2 filling some vacancies in the street department. We did repair a storm sewer outfall on Lawrence Street, over on the north side of the lake. And we will be working on informational signs for the chamber. And currently, we are working on some bridge maintenance on the town line road. Want to touch on the fog sealing. That's the last application for the chip sealing that we did earlier this year. So what we did with the chip sealing, the fog sealing application will be magnified by probably 2 to 3 times. Not all of the areas in town required a chip seal. It was just a fog seal, separate process. But they're scheduled for tomorrow to start, but it looks like Thursday and Friday is when they will be starting that process. You'll see various indicators around town and maintenance, asphalt maintenance is coming up. We don't have the date on there quite yet, or the day, but we wanted to get those up. It's on Grain Avenue, it's in the alleys on each side of town, it's back in the North Arthur, Lemonwire area. So it is a lot of different places in town. Basically where there were street projects that had occurred, we're coming back after a year, 2, 3, maybe sometimes 4 at the max, to hit those with what we call a fog seal and seal that blacktop up again.
So there's a section on butts, there's signs on butts?
Yes,
I was gonna ask all that.
yes. The project from last year will get treated.
Is that too soon though? I mean,
No, actually, the state, Minnesota particularly, have gone to doing a project and including fog sealing it before it's actually out of warranty. That same year is when they do this. So we're kind of gravitating to a mix. We've got projects that are 1, 2, 3, as I said, 4 years old that we're coming back. So
We're doing Lemonwire right same year.
and that is with a chip seal. So there's two applications for that. Whereas butts, as you indicated, that's just, it didn't have any chip seal, it's just a fog seal.
Right, we're going back to fog, it never was fog seal.
It was never chip seal, it's brand new from
last year.
last year's project.
So, I guess when's the next time we have the fog seal like butts after we do this? So we
We'll
do this
just-
with 1 year and we're like,
We'll monitor it. I don't think that will probably, 6, 7 years at the max. It just depends.
and this is just to prevent cracking?
Yeah, basically you're just trying to seal that up so you don't get any water in there, which is gonna expand and contract and bust it up. So.
Did you say this is a thicker seal versus that first seal like on the, so is the same thickness as the, like before we do the aggregate?
Correct, yeah, it's the same. So when you do the chip sealing, all it is a sandwich.
Okay.
Oil, chip, oil. This is just oil that's gonna seal. Basically, we don't have to go in there and crack seal, find all those weak spots. This is gonna coat it right over and seal it up, so.
How many miles on the road are we doing here this fall?
For a chip, and for the
sealing.
process, I don't know the actual miles, but it's over, I would say 1.5 to somewhere in that range. I more or less go by dollars than footage.
In regards to butts, that work that was done down by the care center where they cut the street up
Yep.
in gravel fill, is Gerke's gonna fix that or does the public works department?
We took that on today, so they came in, they were having contractor issues getting the concrete done. We needed to get the curb done before we fix the road. So instead of waiting for Matthew to come in sometime in October for the project done by the lake, we're just gonna do that patch. So we don't have to pay the subcontractor.
It's been a bone jar for the last 3 months.
Yep. And that was a holdup, we just needed to get the concrete work done before we could.
It looks all done now.
Yeah, yep.
So, how long is it gonna take to dry on that seal? I mean, how long?
That's the challenging part. It's actually more invasive than the chip seal. So start hitting these fall times, the cooler temperatures, the sun maybe not quite so prevalent. It could be up to 2 to 3 hours before it's completely dry.
Okay.
So they're coming in with a force of about 10 flaggers, so it's going to be a challenge for all of us, especially in the alleys. You know, it's going to be hard to get totes moved out of the way and, you know, all those things that go along with the alleys. So. Otherwise, the sewer department, we did have some requests for proposals out for equipment. I haven't reviewed those yet with the engineer. We're doing some cleaning and jetting, and we did have one minor mechanical issue with the transducer on Mark Avenue. Otherwise, operations are fairly normal out there. We have not seen the contractor for the roofing come in yet. Water department, again, is normal. We did get some work done on some valves that were needed on Jefferson and North Kilbourne. And we did have the lake committee meeting, and I'm not sure that November 17th, I think we're still playing that by year on the next schedule, Lamont, is that correct, or did we?
Well, it depends on what we're gonna do about budget and.
So disregard the November 17th, that'll be.
We don't know it yet, to be determined, but that's the next, that would be the next regular schedule.
Yep. Other than that, we did get our retirement date for Bill Kobleska will be at the end of the year, so we will be starting to look for filling that position also. Other than that, if you have any questions.
I don't have a question, but on our lake committee, we had a fish report from our fish biologist that they did some netting and some electroshocking earlier in the year, and it was absolutely wonderful reports of the numbers, size, distribution. Lake Tomah is a wonderful, wonderful fishery, and you like to fish, get out there and fish.
So what I remember, Lamont, is bass, bluegill, were in the top 1%, I believe, of a similar lake in the state. Then I believe it went down to like the 10th percentile for the northern, and I don't know, was it the perch also, or what was the other? There was 4, I think.
And then, yeah.
It must have been the perch.
10th, and then crappie was in the 25th.
Yeah. So, I mean, to have 2 species in the top 1% and then 2 in the top 10, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
That's to be commended.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the police department, we have agenda item number 9, the August 2022 Police Department Monthly Report. Chief.
Good evening. I mentioned last month that we did have one of our employees in a hiring process, a different agency, that former sergeant has accepted that position. He's now gone. Creates an opening in our department, so we have a hiring process that is open. We're taking applications until September 26th at 5 p.m. Currently, we have a total of 2 applications, neither of which appear to meet the minimum qualifications to be hired by our department. If we do not receive more qualified applications by the deadline, we'll likely extend the hiring process. We'll work through all that with our police fire commission. Currently, there are 95 police agencies in Wisconsin looking to hire police officers. So, I mean, this is a statewide, if not nationwide, problem. The current police academy in Sparta has a total of 7 recruits, 5 of which had jobs prior to starting the academy. One of those 5 is Audrey Gomez. She's employed by the city of Tomah right now. She'll graduate October 7th. We'll get her in the field training process right away and then get her going. Officer John Reigel has completed the field training process. He's now on sole patrol, working 3rd shift. So he appears to be an excellent addition to our department. I have 2 other officers that are out on FMLA for extended periods of time. One hopefully is back in a month, another one 2 months. And then I am having shoulder surgery October 6th. I'll be out for probably 2 to 3 weeks, and then I'll be able to come back unrestricted duty, and full recovery is 4 to 6 months. So that's what my immediate future looks like. Crime Fest is coming up this weekend. Obviously going to see a lot of increased activity on the north end of town. The Monroe County Sheriff's Office has asked for mutual aid from our department. We will provide that. That's normally when an officer is not working and they will elect to work overtime to assist that agency, and then the Sheriff's Office ends up reimbursing any overtime expenditures. So, also, we've changed up how we operate in the school zones with our day shift patrol. Normally you would see, we would call it school patrol, you'd have officers driving in school zones. And what we have done now is we have officers out of the car and they're walking in the area of the schools and interacting with kids, families, teachers, etc. So that seems to be pretty well received. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that.
Good idea.
Yeah. And then other than that, we're working on the 2023 budget with just like all the other department heads. So I have nothing further unless there are questions from you. Thanks. All right, good night.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the general portion of the agenda. We have agenda item number 10, discuss and set date for 2023 budget workshop.
So we're just looking for input from this committee as to when you would like to get together for that budget workshop. I know I think our options are probably to do a Monday and Tuesday night, like we did last year. We could go back to a Saturday, as you've done in the past, or if there's a day of the week that would work, we could do that in place of a Saturday as well. So,
How many hours do we need to be?
I would say probably,
4 to 5.
yeah, 4 to 5 hours.
I'd go for a Saturday morning.
When does it need to be done by?
It has to be published by that last week in October, so we have to have it midweek. So if you wanted to do a Saturday, it would be probably one of the first couple of Saturdays of October.
October 1st.
I'm not available. No, I have a soccer.
I prefer a weeknights.
I'm available the 8th or the 15th.
In the evenings, you mean?
That's Saturday.
Those are Saturdays, sorry.
What day?
8th or the
8th or
15th?
15th, I'm available.
If we do it in the morning, I'm available the 8th. We do it.
I can do the 8th. I can do the 8th.
Della, you okay with the 8th?
You
It's a
say,
Saturday morning, like probably 8 to noon, 8
yeah,
to 1.
I could do that. On the 15th?
Yep.
8th.
October 8th.
October 8th.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's good.
8 to noon, he said.
8 to noon is usually when we ran it.
Who's grabbing the donuts?
I'll bring
That's on
donuts.
the city clerk and the treasurer.
Okay, we can-
Omelets.
Oh, omelets would be a stretch, you could,
There's a plug-in right back there, there's a table.
it's not the resources, it's the chef. You know, be better off if I purchased.
How about if we have you make cereal?
Yeah, you could do that.
Oh, we can get one of those little turnkey things from like a continental breakfast thing at a, yeah.
October 8th, 8 to noon,
Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
All right, I like it.
or however long it takes, but approximately 8 to noon.
Perfect. Nothing to vote on, just we all agree the 8th, correct?
I just have it in minutes. We should be good.
All right, beautiful.
Sounds good.
All right, moving on to agenda item 11, we have approval to add accident insurance to employee benefit options.
So I put this one on there. Like I mentioned, we're going to be having our open enrollment, and as an employer, as the city of Tomah, we want to try to find ways to improve our benefits package without increasing costs to the city or taxpayers or anyone else, but still have additional options. So accident insurance is something we don't currently offer. If you're familiar with AFLAC, you know, if you break a leg, then you get this much, or if you go to a hospital visit, then they give you this much cash. If you lose a toe, you get this many $1,000s. I mean, there's different different amounts depending on what happened, or what would happen to you. I included that in the packet so you can kind of see. It doesn't cost the city anything. I'm just looking for approval to be able to add that to our benefits package as one more option for employees to pick the insurance up if they want.
I remember that time. See, that 3 seconds drives me, oh, what's the cost to employee then for that?
So if you look at the packet, if you want to look at, I think it's the first page.
There was a lot of numbers on that page.
Yeah, and so an accident insurance monthly cost is for an employee only is $4.38. So if they want to choose to pick that up, they could. You can cover an employee and spouse for $6.26, employee and a child for $8.44, or you can cover your whole family for $12.32. So it's quite affordable, but yet it's just one more kind of little tool in the toolkit for us to be able to offer to our employees. It doesn't cost us anything. It's already with a carrier that we have our life insurance through, so it's very minimal. As far as, we would have some work to do in the front end for payroll and once we get everybody on, but after that it would be kind of business as usual, just like the rest of our benefits. So I'm just looking for approval to be able to do that, and then I'll include that in our open enrollment information when I send it out.
I don't see why not.
Totally optional, totally payroll deduction out of the employees.
And I got a
Yes.
motion by John and a second by Mitch to approve.
Do we want to pay some of it? It's pretty cheap.
It's not really something we're looking to add for expenses for the city right now, but it could be something down the line if we found some real, budget cuts somewhere, yeah.
If
It's
we
always
pay
an
half
option.
of only the employee, maybe $2 a month for, just saying.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is this secondary to other health insurance that they also have, or not?
Yes, this is just an extra insurance in case they have an event happen, an accident of some sort happen. So for instance, if they went into a coma, they would get, a certain dollar amount, $10,000.
It's basically a protective program for them. So for instance, they break an ankle, they have to have surgery on it, they're gonna be out of work, it's gonna be like a supplemental
It's cash money, it's just
Yes.
kind of on top of.
to assist in paying their bills.
And they can use insurance for whatever happens.
Exactly.
So this is just.
Yeah. Supplemental.
Can city
Supplemental.
council members get it for $2 or $4 a week?
No, I'm sorry, you don't qualify for
Oh,
benefits.
shoot. Darn it.
But other insurance companies don't look at it and say, you got that money, so we're not gonna cover it.
No.
No, they can't.
No, we're ultimately giving them more money for stuff, so they're happy to take
Well,
it.
just, so it's not like co-insurance where one looks at what the other one does and then you only get benefits out of it.
No, it's not quite, it's not medical insurance,
Yeah.
it's accident, which is kind of its own thing.
Yep.
So I'm sorry, who had the
So
motion?
I had a motion by John and a second by Mitch to approve. Is there any further discussion? Nelly, nothing?
No, I just want to know that the employees will be paying for this. If
Yeah.
they choose.
Yes.
If they want, and if they don't, they don't have to, but it's available if they do.
Okay.
Yep, elective, totally elective. We don't pay anything as the city for it.
During open enrollment.
And they'll sign up during open enrollment, and once a year they'll be able to change it if they don't want it, if they want to pick it up.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Agenda item 12, special beer permit application by Tomah Fire Department for November 5th, 2022.
Second.
I got a motion by Mitch and a second by Nelly. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 13, approval of resolution of 2022 comprehensive plan amendment public participation plan.
Move to approve.
Second.
I got a motion by Richard and a second by Lamont. Any further discussion? Is there anything you wanted to add onto this, Shane, before we go?
Sure, I can just kind of give a brief overview. So for 2023, we had to update our comprehensive plan So Vanderwall's kind of laid out a public participation plan, and the plan commission's already made a recommendation last month for this going forward. It's basically the first step in the process of amending our comprehensive plan.
Awesome, thank you.
This is in regards to both the fire station and Badger 5, right?
This is completely an overview of the entire city's comprehensive plan. It's not specific to any specific site, not in future land use map amendment. That will be coming though, Richard.
Any other questions? So the motion is to approve the resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 14, discussion and consideration of downtown design standard zoning ordinance amendments. And we're not doing the first reading, that's for tomorrow, right? And it's just the,
You're just making recommendations to what you want the council.
okay, just want to make sure.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Mike and a second by Richard. Any further discussion? Shane, anything you want to add on this one, or?
This is simply changing the role for the oversight and review of any of the downtown design standards from the LRBC to the Plan Commission.
Fantastic. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Agenda item 15, amendment of ordinance section 8-1 and 8-61, housing of farm and exotic animals.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Nelly and a second by Lamont. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 16, amendment of ordinance section 18-129, substitute buildings.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Lamont, a second by Nelly. Any further discussion?
Question. We see all these storage buildings or storage units that Walmart's got. Do they have a special permit for each one of those buildings?
Technically, any of the business or industrial entities are supposed to get an annual permit on these.
Is that a permit per storage or per box, or one flat fee for how many ever they want?
That I'm not sure, Richard. In my, previous to my being here in 2006 and from that point forward, I've never seen a permit for these. So that's probably a kind of educational note to the business and the industrial users that they should be applying for those.
So Shane, is there any enforcement mechanism on that then? Do we proactively go look, or what's our stance now that we've been made aware that they're not permitted?
That is something I would have Casey work on over the winter months when there's not much to do on the nuisance abatement inspections and code enforcement. So that'd be a special project for.
So if, let's say a business is working on remodeling, is that, they would have to get a permit for that individual container during that time, or is that just underneath the building permit at that point then?
If you read the ordinance there, it shall not apply to the temporary parking
Okay.
while engaged in the loading and unloading of cargo and merchandise. I would consider that for construction ones also, Mitch, on that they wouldn't be subject to that.
All right, thanks.
Any further questions or discussion?
What is the loan, or the amount fee? What's the fee amount, Shane?
That's another good question. Like I said, we've never actually had a permit for these, so I'm not even sure if there's a fee established at this point, so.
All right, thanks.
What I was looking at on this one here was simply to change the review to the plan commission, whether there's a subjective review of something that should be done by one individual, and it should be done by a board or commission, so.
Any other discussion or questions?
Would this affect the ones that are already in existence, such as the one out there at Peterbilt? Or the automotive truck repair shop next to Expo?
Yes, unless it predates the adoption of the original ordinance, which I don't have right there, but this ordinance has been around for quite a while, so my guess is it would apply to all the existing.
So this doesn't, I think just to kind of summarize, this doesn't really change that we're enforcing it. There's some stuff we still need to figure out now that we have Casey on board. This is just changing a wording from building inspector to planning commission, and that the planning commission is going to be providing the recommendation on these.
Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions? The motion is to approve the amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Shane. Agenda item 17, resolution accepting donation of property.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Lamont and a second by Mitch. Any further discussion?
Question, is all of these properties east of Syme Avenue and south of Tracks?
No.
Yes.
Not east of,
That's what I thought they were, but I wasn't sure.
they're not all east of Sign.
No, they're not all east.
They're all
There
south
are-
of the tracks.
There are some east of Sign. There are some east of Sign, primarily along Manawa, where Manawa would extend if it was improved on each side of there. And then south of the tracks, west of Sign. So in behind those homes.
What's the significance of the location? Just out of sheer curiosity.
I just try to familiarize myself with the actual locations. I know some of them are north of the airport.
The others, so you know all those houses on Manawa, there's kind of a low land between the tracks and those houses. It's all that.
You mean
land.
where Bird built those apartments?
You know the 28 plex on the corner?
Yeah, that's,
Behind that, towards Glendale, along the tracks.
There are attachments, Richard,
Brownell.
in there
Oh, I'm sorry, Brownell.
that have each parcel
He said
highlighted.
Manawa.
yeah, I just didn't describe where the location was on.
Brownell.
Okay,
Brownell.
Between the tracks and the houses on Brownell.
yes.
All these parcels bought up to city property already, pretty much. Well, I mean, if you,
Yes, I would say yes. to
so,
that.
it's a no-brainer, so.
And a couple of parcels down by the landfill area.
Well, those are substantial size there.
The yard waste,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
There's a road there.
Airport refuse
There's a big road.
recycling site.
I realized that those two were part of the parcel, but the other ones, it's pretty hard to figure out just exactly where they were.
So we did take this to Public Works and Parks and Rec just for their input. They were all on board. We have not identified the use for these parcels, but I think for $8,625 that it's a good investment. We did, just for history, this has been ongoing for, I think, since 2019. So there were a couple parcels originally that they wanted to donate that were sold, so they stayed on the tax base. We kind of, I wouldn't say we drug our feet, but the way things worked out, there were some parcels that were bought. Some of the houses that abutted those parcels bought an additional lot, so I think everybody has had their time, or, if they were interested in these, to jump on that.
So, and I guess there's one party that doesn't want to donate it, is that the whole?
One of the parties is in a, more or less a nursing home facility,
Oh, okay.
where the trust will not just
Donate it.
donate it. We have to buy that one outright.
Is that this one we're talking about?
That'd be the
They are
next
one
item.
of the 8, yes.
So
Yeah,
there's
it's the
8
next
people that
agenda.
own all those properties, and one is in a home that can't be donated,
It's illegal.
so, makes sense.
That would put it.
So that'll be the
in
next,
front,
that's the next item on the agenda.
Correct.
We have to pay.
These are tied together.
Yep, so I think
We're accepting most of them, and we have to pay the $8,000 to fulfill the legal obligation for that one entity.
3 months in there, so.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or discussion on,
I have a question.
go ahead, Bill.
Kurt?
Yeah.
How many parcels do we own? Do you know?
That we're looking to be donated.
Yeah, I mean, how many total have been donated?
7.
And they're all connected?
Not all, I believe all but 2 are connected to the other 5. So there's more or less 5 connected, and then 2 are connected that sit by themselves.
Is that something that we'll be able to use down the road for development at all?
We believe that there's going to be some opportunities, whether it's recreational. A lot of this, that's why we took it to Parks and Rec, because a large portion of this butts up to Fireman's Park, you know, that area, recreational, and the other is more or less abutting the airport. So we tried to include those 2 entities just to, you know, give them a heads up, and not knowing what we're going to do with them, you know, but still include them in the discussion. So.
I mean, I'm sure it's at least probably 15, 20 acres we're talking about. I didn't add it up. I think those parcels by the airport are over 5 acres.
Yeah, I think it was originally right around 40, but then they sold off a few, and
Yeah.
it's, yeah, I would say from 15 to 30 acres roughly.
Yeah.
Well, that's the parcel between the airport and the trailer court, right?
There's 2 parcels there.
Yeah.
Yep. With the road, that gravel road that goes east and west.
Is that classified as wetland?
I would suspect that it is, but there are some reasons for acquiring that. One would be just kind of controlling the trees and, you know, the approach area to the airport.
Yeah, I think controlling land around the airport would be very important.
Yeah.
For free.
Okay.
All right, any further questions or discussion on this item?
Thank you.
Thank you. So a reminder, the motion is to accept the donation of property. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 18, approval of offer to purchase land.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Mitch, a second by Lamont. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 19, resolution for payment of monthly bills.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I got a motion by Nellie and a second by Richard. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 20, special beer and wine permit for the Tomah Chamber and Visitor Center for night market event October 20th, 2022.
Make a motion to approve.
Can I real quick, I've got a request from the chamber to postpone this item until October because they filled out their application incorrectly as for the chamber requesting this, and it's supposed to be the Tomah Lions,
Okay.
not the Chamber of Commerce. They filled out their application incorrectly. So they've asked us if we could, I could ask you if you'd be willing to postpone it till October. We'll bring it back with the correct application.
No.
Nellie, would you be willing to postpone this until the
Yeah.
October meeting? John, would you be willing to amend your second? So I got a motion by Nellie and a second by John to postpone this item until the October council meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 21, fire department hose purchase.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Nellie and a second by Richard. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 22, approval of updated truck driver job description.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Lamont and a second by Nellie. Any further discussion?
I would like to amend that and add the word recycling to the items that are handled by the truck drivers, and disposition, any other designated location or facility as disposition sites.
What was that?
Where's that at on here?
Yeah, which,
What page?
are we be adding items to it, or are there specific numbers of the essential duties and responsibilities that you'd like
Let me
to?
find which line item it is.
I think 14 is what Richard's referencing.
Delivers refuse and waste daily to the county landfill?
Yeah, we specify the landfill, and I think Richard's really spot on this.
They also pick up the recycling materials which don't go to landfill.
That's a good point.
So adding the word recycling to the items that they pick up and adding the designation, other designated facilities for disposition.
Yeah, and this originally would have came from a job description that when we weren't even doing recycling.
Oh, sure.
So we just kind of regurgitated this, and it was a very good catch, thank you.
How far we've come, huh? All right, are we okay with amending? Who's the first on this?
What is it?
So, if you look at page 186 of the packet, under essential duties and responsibilities, we'd be looking at amending item 14 on there to indicate not only delivering things to the county landfill, but other designated facilities, to include things like recycling, things of that matter, since the original job description that the copy over didn't account for the city of Tomah doing the recycling pickup at the time. So was that your motion, Ellie? Who made the motion on this one?
It was Kiefer and Peter.
That's fine.
And you're okay with
I'm
the
good
second?
with it.
All right, so with that in mind, are there any other questions or discussion on this item? All right, so all those in favor of updating the job description, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I got a motion from Lamont, a second by Nelly to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's 7:37, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all for your patience. First order of business, if there's anybody desiring to appear before the council, please do so at this time. Yes, please step to the podium. State your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Victor Kennedy, and I'm a resident here in Tomah. I work for,
Push the, I don't think your microphone is on. Just push that little black square.
Until it turns blue.
Did it turn blue on you?
Just tap the.
It's on, the mic's on.
yeah, it's on.
Yeah, it's on.
Testing it. Can you hear me?
Volume's
I can
just
talk
low.
loud enough for you guys to hear me.
Volume's low.
My name is Victor Kennedy. I live here in Tomah, Foster, East Foster. Moved here about 8 years ago. Work for Toro Manufacturing, excuse me for a minute. I work for Toro Manufacturing. I'm a temp supervisor right now, about to move into an MG program for WKS for restaurants here in Tomah. I wanted to come before you guys today and talk to you about a need. There's a need for group homes. And I put together a plethora of different information. I'm also a student at Western Technical College, about to graduate, moving to Viterbo for my 4-year bachelor's. With that said, I put together some information from the national studies, statewide studies, and then I did a local study on homelessness here for youth. Before I got to this point, a few years back, post-COVID, I was running a program in the park for kids. I started a program called Choices. And the premise of that program was to get kids some healthy alternatives for summer activity. Idle mind is the workshop of the devil, so to speak. So I developed a program where I would get kids out, 3-on-3 basketball tournaments. I got Anytime Fitness involved. I had McDonald's involved. We believe that the community can take care of itself within the community. So that was the premises. COVID hit, kind of took us out. So trying to come back from that. But we were sitting down, me and my wife, and we were thinking, what can we do for these kids? One of our most valuable resources is our children. And right now in Tomah, Wisconsin, well, I started actually, the national studies show, can I hand this to you guys? national study if you want. This is the statewide study. And this is Monroe County's study for homelessness here in Monroe County in Tomah, Wisconsin. While you guys are looking that over, the national studies show that there is, for homeless for youth ages 16 to 21, it's about 4,500. Statewide, we're at, no, I'll take that back, I'm sorry. Our national studies show we're at 1.2 million for homelessness for youth. It's a huge number. It's very huge. Statewide, we're about 4,500, and locally, we're down actually from 2013. The numbers were at 150. The numbers show today, the last study that was done was 2019, that we're about 80 children. We have 80 children here in Tomah, Wisconsin that are homeless. I don't know if you can see that, but that's a PowerPoint presentation that I put together for a group home. And the name of the group home is We Care. I thought it'd be appropriate. We do care. We're trying to be proactive with composing solutions to help these kids that do not have homes. Most of them do go to school, and returning from school, most of them do not have a place to stay. Very hard. I was talking to a professor today. It's very hard for kids to focus without having the necessary resources to keep them focused and not.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt.
I'm sorry.
This is an item that would have to come under an agenda.
Okay.
So I guess it would be a topic we could discuss at a level if we could figure out what is it that you're desiring from the council at this point.
At this point, what I'm looking for is a letter from you guys stating that, to acknowledge that there is a need, and to enter into agreement. I spoke with, I went to Sparta, and I kind of did some investigating on my own. I spoke with the group home there, and I looked around, and it was really outdated. This isn't I'm not trying to be judgmental or critical, because they do serve a purpose, but I'm thinking it looks more institutional. It kind of fits the stereotypical perspective that we have of what group homes are for incarcerated, mentally challenged. There's a lot of stigmatization that goes along with it. But to make it a long story short, Mike, I spoke with them, and I did a lot of research years and years ago when I first came here, maybe about 6 years ago. And we need to change it. We have to change the face of what we do to comport, to fit with today's expectations. And I read a book. I'm gonna finish this real quick. But I read a book by Dr. Phil called Life Codes. And it talked about some of the things that we do that are outdated. Some of our parenting skills, some of the things that we do that are we carry them from our parents and we bring them into a generation, and they don't fit because of the needs for these kids today. That's what I'm trying to say. And I want to get closer to what those needs are and touch bases with these kids and figure out what we can do to get them into educational programming, some maybe housing, transportation, teach them about some of the things that they miss coming up. Maybe the schools don't touch bases on it, transportation, housing, some of the things, essential tools that they need to grow and to thrive off of, become very healthy, independent, productive individuals. So that's where I'm going, Mike.
Yeah, so who would the letter be directed to? What would the content of the letter need to be?
Right now, just the acknowledgement that we do have a need for a group home. I was prepared myself, me and my wife. We were gonna furnish an elaborate home. We were gonna use our resources to purchase this home, But we need city, we're gonna need city and county, we're gonna need you guys to be on board and to assist us with this endeavor. We can't do it on our own. But I also was gonna attach a 501(c), because there are a lot of different businesses here. I work for one that's very generous with donating to the community, to worthy causes. I've been a part of some of the other things with Boys and Girls Club here. That's how I met Sean.
So this would be something that perhaps we would start at trying to think of what committee level we would start at. The difficulty in
probably senior services and.
Senior services, Pam might be one to talk with.
Sept team.
Yeah.
To just kind of filter.
Yeah, the thing that we'd have to bring in is, just so, from a clarity standpoint, in anybody starting a business, because whether we want to label it as such or not, it's still a business. And the city has parameters to exist within in assistance with businesses. So that might be, I don't know, does that fall categorically into the sept team?
I was kind of thinking committee of the whole, but that was,
Yeah.
that was only because there's really no specific committee that would,
Deal with
naturally
that.
gravitate to right now.
Yeah, right.
If you'd like, what you can do is you can email me and at all of the requests that you may have, whether it be, what you're looking for from the city or from the council, or, and that way I can get it all laid out in front of the senior executive team, and then we can talk a little bit more about it and plan it as an actual agenda item. Typically, this portion of the council is reserved for like a 3-minute quick thing, and I don't want to take that away from you, but it's something that we would want to plan for and have all the information in front of us and in front of them. So if you want to contact me, if you want to go to our website and on the clerk's page, my email address is right there. If you want to send it to me, I'm Becky Wire, I'm the city clerk. And then we can start there, and then we can bring it back in front of the council once we're prepared and have all of the data in front of them, and make sure you get the time that we want you to have.
Yeah.
It gives us time to digest it too, your information, and I think it's a great, I think it's great. Thank you for,
Yeah, it's an item that can't go to discussion because it's not on the agenda.
Sure. Okay, sounds good.
And I appreciate you doing the outdoor activities during the summer. That's a great idea. Hopefully that can get going really well for you next year.
Yeah, we're anticipating. I just got so much training. I at school, I work full time, and I'm also doing GM training right now in Illinois. So there's a lot of things on my plate, so I really wanted to push forward with this.
What do you do with your spare time?
I'm trying to find that spare time. But thank you.
They tend to get pretty scarce at times.
Yeah, send it to Becky, and then we can get it on an agenda item, and then we can take it from that approach. As Mitch said, we can digest it, but we can have the ability, so then we can start answering better educated questions to you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, my friend.
Yeah.
Anybody else desiring to appear before the council? Okay, we'll move on to the tomah Area School District. Dr. Mike Hansen is here with us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everyone, good evening.
Thank you for
the
being here with us.
opportunity for a brief update on the school district. I believe council members have the strategic plan embedded within well, I just got some of the strategic plan copies for members of the audience. First and foremost, thank you so much for your leadership. What an awesome opportunity for us to partner in so many things together, because the things that you do here for our city in terms of infrastructure, business development, so many things impact us as schools, and so we're very honored to be your partner. So thanks for making Tomah a great place to live and grow, and it's a wonderful opportunity for our children. So our mission is absolutely high-quality student learning, every child, every day. So today I just wanted to offer a brief update on the beginning of the school year. We're a few weeks deep, and it's much nicer. It's normal. Much normal, so much more normal. So we're excited about that. And our Board of Education, our faculty, administration have been very busy on a lot of things. So tonight I just wanted to focus in on just 3 key areas, but know that all areas of instruction, academics, co-curricular, all operations are important to us each and every day. So on the back of your strategic plan for the district, we've got pillars of excellence. And so we've kept the 5 that we've been moving forward, the student achievement and future focused, do segue together. So the big 3 that I'll call them this year that we focused on in our last night's meeting was really a pivotal moment to get that momentum for our district moving forward is first our employee engagement survey. It was taken in May, and as all of us know, in many industries that are out there hiring, retaining, attracting employees is really at a critical mass now, and so education is no different. So we started with a benchmark employee engagement survey that's we can kind of consider post-COVID. We're actually considering this one a benchmark for us. So we're out of that, but we have some fantastic data coming through that experience on how we can move forward and engage our faculty, all of our faculty. This was sent out to 521 employees with about a 62% capture rate on responses, which is extraordinary. So we think we've got some great data to move us forward, engaging our faculty, having crucial conversations around those items that are important. And from last night's review, we scored very well in many areas, but there were a couple of indices that we'll be looking at, and student discipline was one of those items that had risen to the top that was under a 3, and there's some workday pieces that we're going to look at as well. So from that survey, we've already engaged in a couple of opportunities with our different faculty in meeting settings, and then last night's walkthrough of that data. We're also committed to a strong budget. Strategic fiscal planning is huge for us, and we want to stay between that. We'd love to be number 1 in all categories of salary and benefits, but definitely in that 3 to 5 position, and we're looking very well in many of those categories. Last night we completed many of our salary adjustments, and so we're very proud and honored of all of our employees, our family of employees, and for what they're doing and doing our best to maintain strong salary benefit packages. But beyond that, we want to take a look strategically at where we're at now and where we need to be at 5 years from now, because we know every budget decision that the board makes, we make, what's that going to look like 5 years down the road. So like many districts, there is a cliff out there. We've got our projections out on our district website, a great place to go. So one key component of our strategic plan forward is taking a look at an operational referendum. The board has been discussing a potential operational referendum to replace the one that expires here in 2023. 2019 one is expiring in 2023. So in the last 3 to 4 months, the board has been taking a look at those fiscal metrics and will steadily make that progression in their decision making come December as to whether or not they'd like to place another question out to the board and then ultimately to the community. So we will stay in touch with you on that front, and we encourage a lot of folks to attend our meetings, check out the information that we have. So again, strong budgets, strong opportunities for our kids, and taking great care of our family of employees. And certainly academics, number 1. None of these are in any ranked order, but we are moving into a professional learning process, a community process, excuse me. There has been learning loss in our district, just as many others. So we want to take a new and fresh look at an instructional process that's been in place, but not embedded to the depth that we'd like it to be. The professional learning community process is focused on adult learning, how we are doing as adult learners to engage our children and have them meet and exceed achievement goals. So we focus on our own learning as adults to impact student learning, and it's a very collaborative approach. So we're finding pathways so we can ensure that our faculty are not operating. They go in, close their door, teach their content, and the child goes to the next class or the next workstation, etc. So we want to make that much more collaborative piece so none of our faculty in any area feel that they're working alone. And we're very excited with the new guiding coalitions, we call them, moving forward to help build that collaborative piece. You know, my own instructional history has been 7th grade language arts teacher, close my door, do my things, diagrams and sentences, and off they go to PE or something like that. I never had that connection, really the deep connection, even through a team planning process at the middle school, like this professional learning community process has. So it is a process that will take some time, but we'll keep you all up to date in our community in general regarding that. So a lot of things going on. You'll see a few other critical initiatives and key measures as we move along this school year. So an abbreviated strategic plan, it's about 18 to 24 months in its capacity. Be on the lookout for the Howl. The back-to-school edition should have arrived in your boxes already. Please subscribe to our Pause weekly message, and also look forward to seeing you at our board meetings when you can. And again, I want to thank you for your leadership. There are so many things happening out in the world right now. Thank you for your dedication to our community, our schools, and the difficult decisions that you make, but wonderful information from your team of professionals. They're great. We're not thinking of snow days yet, but believe me, we're with you on that. So the snow block is wonderful, 90 days or so. I'd love to stand by for questions or comments if you have anything, or anything I can take back to our board members.
Well, I just appreciate you coming in and giving us an update, and I think you're doing a wonderful job with our school district right now. I appreciate that.
Sure thing. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Have a pleasant evening.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, move on to the mayor's report. Obviously, Cranfest coming this weekend. Everybody please be safe in all that you do. Recognize that there are going to be lots of people that do not live around here that might be driving in a manner that they're not completely certain of where they're headed, so just please be careful with that. And being the dunderhead that I am, I left my invitation for the Cardinal, the ribbon cutting for the new edition. So John, I'm going to rely on you to give the information on that.
October 3rd, we're having an open house for everyone on the city council, the sept team, and I think police and fire chief, everyone, are all invited.
And I had it laying there and I didn't, what is the time of it, do you remember? I apologize, I had it laying there and I didn't grab it.
I'm there the whole day.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock?
10 o'clock.
All right, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so just wanted everybody on the council to be aware of that, October 3rd, 10 a.m. Moving along, resolution in recognition of Kurt Watinsky and Gail Sumi. I'll be reading, whereas since 1987, Kurt Watinsky has been providing leadership guidance and advocacy to benefit the cities and villages of Wisconsin. And whereas since 2011, Gail Sumi has given voice to and enlightened and informed Wisconsin's local leaders through her direction and coordination of the League of Wisconsin Municipalities' multiple channels of communication, including editing and production of the municipality. And whereas Mr. Watinsky and Ms. Sumi have been thoughtful leaders and trusted advisors for local officials, both elected and appointed, whereas Kurt Watinsky and Gail Sumi have contributed in countless ways to the prosperity and success of local government in Wisconsin, and whereas in addition to their tireless efforts on behalf of municipal government, Kurt Watinsky and Gail Sumi have been role models for thousands of local leaders, and whereas Mr. Watinsky and Ms. Sumi will be retiring from daily service to local government at the end of calendar year 2022, now therefore be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Tomah expresses its profound gratitude to Kurt Watinsky and Gail Sumi for their service, and be it finally resolved that Common Council of the City of Tomah congratulates them both on their careers of leadership and wishes them well in future endeavors. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. It is passed by the City Council on the 20th day of September 2022.
I must say I've met them both at league conventions and they were excellent, very professional, good leaders and outstanding.
Good, thank you for that. Resolution in recognition of honor to Rachel Millenkamp for service to the City of Tomah 2003 to 2022. Whereas on May 1st, 2003, Rachel Millenkamp began her service as a public servant for the City of Tomah as an Assistant Director of the Community Development Block Grant and Public Housing Authority. And whereas one of the highlights of Rachel's City of Tomah career includes her appointment to the Director position for the CDBG PHA in 2008 after 5 years of service with the City of Tomah. And whereas in directing the Tomah Public Housing Authority as well as overseeing the Community Development Block Grant Program, Rachel monitored the city public housing, oversaw maintenance and upkeep on the buildings, and provided service to members of the community who maintain residency in public housing. And whereas she has distinguished herself in her in-depth knowledge of the varying programs employed by the city, Ms. Millenkamp was instrumental in maintaining detailed and accurate records on all aspects of housing and relating the information to the Housing Commission board members. And whereas Rachel oversaw a very complicated department by adhering to both state and federal guidelines and maintained compliance with both to ensure that the program continued to function efficiently and effectively with limited time, resources, and staffing. She was adept at seeing a problem situation, determining a solution, and implementing it with as little impact on the department as possible. And whereas her colleagues knew her as a dedicated, reliable, consummate professional with a positive attitude and impeccable communication skills who promoted a safe, secure, and attractive living environment for all citizens using public housing facilities. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Michael Murray, Mayor of the City of Tomah, do hereby express my sincere appreciation and gratitude for Ms. Mullenkamp's dedication and commitment to the city, and congratulate her on the occasion of her retirement from the City of Tomah, and wish her the best and continued success in her retirement and future endeavors, dated this 20th day of September 2022. I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to comment, I don't know who wrote this, but this is absolutely unbelievable. It hits the nail right
Yeah,
on the
it did.
head.
That was actually written by Nikki Jacobs.
Well, I commend her that, and this is not a bunch of hype and
It was
blow
personal.
and smoke, and I worked with Rachel all 6 years on my store, going 7 years now, on those committees, and that's exactly what she did. And matter of fact, she was so good at it, the rest of us didn't hardly know anything when she left, because she just did it so impeccably that we didn't need, we just looked at her, yep, that's it, and the numbers, and she had great budgets, and it was awesome. It was all right in front of you all the time, and it was audited, and never had any glitches in their audits, and just outstanding, and I totally agree with all this, and boy, I wish her the best.
She grew the program for the city completely. The way that when we added the housing for the, over on McCoy, or on Waterman and Maple Grove additions, and she was a constant blessing.
Good, thank you all for that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sorry, senior executive team.
So the couple items from last month's meeting, there was questions about the Dickey property donation. The acceptance is later on down the list, but the sept team basically has a short blurb here. What we would like to propose is any revenues that come from that donation in the future be directed towards the Senior Disabled Service Department. So that was what we would recommend.
Make a motion to approve.
What was the condition of that building, or that second story?
So we'll get into that a little bit more. We still have some legwork to do before we'll actually be able to access that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then the next item, I don't believe would need a motion. It was asked about the treasurer and taking on those added responsibilities. Basically, we see that as a cost reduction measure, and we're not recommending any additional compensation at this time.
Make a motion to approve.
That was not a motion necessary on that one.
But we will be looking at, what, just a 1% or 2% or something of her wages to come out of that administrative fee that's in that CDBG funds?
Yes,
To shift just a little piece out of the general levy into that fund. I'm guessing it's not much, but we'll be looking at that sometime.
Yeah, we'll go over that in the budget workshop.
Okay.
Other than that, in general, we're getting to know this agenda item, so the floor is basically open to you guys to ask us to research, look at any item, future agenda items. So open it up.
Will we be looking at the casualty or building insurance quotes, or will we just roll with what we're presently at?
That has been renewed, to my knowledge. Becky?
Yes, it's already been renewed. What we're doing is looking at combining the property insurance along with all the other insurance, the property and equipment along with like workers' compensation, liability, umbrella, and having it all renew at once so that if we do decide that we want to look at that again, that we can get a quote with all of it together. So we are renewed so far up through at least January of 2023.
Sometimes lumping it all into one policy is not always the best advice either.
One thing, just keep brainstorming for affordable housing ideas, because as companies keep hiring people in this challenging environment, it's even more important now because if people could live in Tomah instead of driving from La Crosse or driving somewhere, you know, it's more attractive to drive less. So if we could, it's like a huge thing.
And not to get too far into it, the housing assessment was completed. There'll be a proposal for one piece or one recommendation from that to go to long-range planning. And we also have some examples that we'd like to talk about in the budget workshop and possibly pursue.
That's great.
Yeah. Development, where are we on that, and what is the plan down the road to bring more development into the, not only the city itself, but our downtown? Any ideas?
We are, we'll get you a formalized discussion on that next month.
Okay.
Or at the budget workshop. Again, we don't want to get into this conversation, and you almost went too far with, you know, with the first two, but it's learning for us, so we'll jot it down, we'll discuss it, get our thoughts together, and bring something more formal back to you, and not get around that transparency. You know, we want everybody to be engaged.
But there's a plan down. I mean, you are in discussion, and we'll get there, right?
Yes, we have a number of opportunities that we would like to explore, and we'll just kind of leave it at that for right now.
Thank you.
And actually, you had the topic tonight presented by the gentleman in front of us that will be coming to just take a look at it and vet it for us a little bit and see how it fits in our system.
I would like to see some ideas for the farmer properties that we just acquired, if you guys could brainstorm, I guess, on that.
That we can actually discuss down below if you'd like. We do have some ideas that we have discussed previously with staff.
Okay.
Okay, if nothing further, we'll move on to public safety.
Thank you, Kirk.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. You have my written reports. If you have any questions on that, entertain any questions. Otherwise, fire department going to be hosting or holding interviews at the beginning of October here, creating an eligibility list to fill some upcoming vacancies. Talk a little bit about mutual aid agreements. The fire department, ambulance service has had mutual aid agreements with all the other emergency agencies throughout Monroe County. It's been common for probably better than 30 years, just like I'll use the example down when we had the downtown fire, we had Fort McCoy, we had Sparta, we had Oakdale. They come in and they help us, and then when in the event that they have something, we go and help them. Just recently, within the last couple of weeks, I was approached by the director at the Tomah VA Medical Center, and they asked me to review a mutual aid agreement with them where we could support them folks. I did pass that on to Penny, and she looked at it, gave me the green light. Not sure what the procedure is. I don't normally go through a mutual aid agreement with the council. I mean, because it's been ongoing for years and years. This one, they're just asking me to sign and either participate or not participate, so.
It included Mike's signature too.
It's not on there, it's
Oh,
just asking for me.
Okay,
Yep.
got it, okay, sorry about that.
So I'm all for it, you know, I mean, if they're gonna have the big one out there, we're gonna be there anyway to help them, right? So, not sure what the future is of that department or how that's gonna look, but, in the event if we had something, I know they would help us out if they could too.
So you don't know what the whole game, or what they're asking the city of?
Basically, if they had a structure fire, we would support them in any function we could, yes. And we've had these agreements many, many years ago, like under Chief Flock, and it must have just dissipated and then never got renewed.
With the VA?
So, yes.
Oh, okay. Have they ever assisted us?
No.
Because they don't have many fires, so
Not-
it's hard to assist.
Right, not that
So good.
I'm aware of, Lamont, and not in my 34 years.
Okay, I don't think they were allowed to go off campus before.
And I know they got some changes, that they're working through right now, and I don't believe they would actually support us, it would be us supporting them,
Okay.
so.
I was gonna say, I don't think the federal.
And to be honest with you, like I said, 34 years, I was out there one time for a structure fire, and it was in the early 90s. Everything's sprinkled, it's, you know, it's a pretty safe place. So,
I just suggested that he brings it up tonight because we reviewed it. It's calling for us to provide some resources, it calls for us to provide some resources that we would not get reimbursed. So I simply wanted him to let you know about it. And either if you want to see it next month, we can do it that way, or if you're okay with him going ahead and signing as is, either way. But I thought you should be aware of it before he just signs it.
Because in reality, you would go whether we have this agreement or not. If there's a big fire out there.
yeah, it's kind of a unique situation because they are, you know, encompassed, their campuses on, it's within the city, and yet we still go to Norwalk and Wilton and Sparta and Oakdale or wherever we need to go to help people out, right?
Do we need a motion or something?
I think it's
I
not
think
really
it's
enough.
not, you don't have to, I guess, do you want him to bring it back so you can fully see it before you give him permission to sign, or are you okay that he does? I simply wanted him to make it aware, like he indicated, he didn't bring them back before.
I think it's been standard operating procedure pretty much for the chief to take care of those processes.
It has, and that's like the regular agreement with all the other agencies in the county. It's just a rolling thing. It's like every time it comes up, I sign it, they sign it, we move on.
So this is the yearly renewal of what you basically signed before?
No, because that was probably like 20, 30 years ago, Nellie, and once again, it's in here, Penny can vouch for it. I can cancel out of this in 10 days if I wanted to. 10 days notice, it says I can.
Isn't the titling it a bit oxymoronical, in the fact that it's mutual aid, but they can't offer any aid?
And maybe that'll change in the future. Once again, I don't know what their future is with.
Well, it just doesn't make sense to say it's a mutual aid agreement when they can't aid us.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Fort McCoy has the same thing, where they can't leave their space unprotected.
Yeah, they're actually
But they
gonna.
have 2 stations.
They're actually having Fort McCoy sign this, and I believe they're actually having Oakdale sign the same thing. So, because if we're tied up on a big fire, we can't send our resources there, right? So they're gonna ask for help from either McCoy or Oakdale. So,
What tornado comes through this?
right. So,
Again, as a matter of practice, I just thought you should be aware of it.
Well, that's good that we are aware of it, you know? If there's questions down the road, we know about it.
absolutely.
And as the mayor just said, you might want to look at the title of that. It's a little bit misleading there.
Well, if you really needed them, you know, it's an agreement that says that they have a mandatory requirement to respond.
Right.
Whether they can or cannot accept it. So
Okay.
it does have some
Some benefit.
mutual language in it.
It may
So
be the
doesn't
case
hurt
where
us.
we had a big fire and they would call their on-duty staff to come in to backfill their station to come and help us. You know, if it was an all-day event or something, so.
Okay.
So,
It's fine with me.
I trust your judgment.
Okay, thank you. Real quickly, EMS-wise, you know that we were advertising for one full-time position, that we had a person leave We did interviews, and I'm proud to say that we hired Jenna Quackenbush out of the Black River Falls area. She just recently out of Western's paramedic school. She'll be starting here in early October. Along with that, we also hired 3 part-time EMTs and paramedics that are going to be joining us on the same time frame in early October. I just got 2 more part-time applications just over the last couple of days, so we may have 5. So we kind of cut our numbers down. Things are starting to get built back up. That's great. On another note, last Friday, I just received another resignation from a full-time paramedic. He's going to be leaving in December, and I'll have more to forward with you on that. One of the other applicants that applied for the full-time position is interested in a full-time position, of course, so I'm going to try to figure out a time frame thing here so we could potentially backfill that position right away and get that taken care of. So, other than that, we're staffed up for Cranfest coming up here. It's a busy time for EMS, and just recently excited to say that we were notified by the Flex grant that we are going to be receiving $124,080 in grants coming up this fall here. So that's definitely going to help our department out with some future expenditures. So.
Is there anything to those, is that grant targeted, or is it
Equipment.
quite flexible?
Equipment.
Please lean,
ambulances?
Richard, please lean up, use your microphone.
Does that include possibly a part of the ambulance itself, or just the equipment in it?
We got to look at it. Actually, the rest of the paperwork's coming on Friday, so we understand it to be equipment. So we did put in for an ambulance and equipment. We got the equipment portion of it. So other than that, just a quick update on the building. The roof purlins are going in this week. If you haven't been by there, structural steel on the admin side is going up next week. They're going to start pouring some floors next week. Pretty much all the underground utilities are in. Roofing starts on the week of October 17th. If they're still thinking things are going to be enclosed by November 30th is what they're telling me or hoping for. So other than that, it's moving along. Have any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, we'll move on to the library. Ms. Irma.
Good evening.
Good evening. August, can you hear me? Can you hear me? August ebook checkouts 2017, physical library checkouts 5,817 with a total of 7,834 items checked out from our library. Again, some of those are physical and some of them are ebooks, but it still is 7,834. Going to wrap up the summer reading program for the children's department. We had 80 little folks between 1 and 5 sign up. Between the ages of 6 and 11, we had 200 sign up. And between the ages of 12 and 18, we had 63 sign ups for that. We had 7 programs at the Boys and Girls Club with 217 attending. 16 Monday night story times with 57 attending. Tuesday morning programs 20 with 221 attending. We had a Magic Treehouse Book Club, 10 programs, 91 attending those. We have Chess Club. We had 3 programs with 9 attending. Baby Time, 3 programs with 7 little tiny babies attending that. Mr. Dave did 8 programs at the Ho-Chunk Youth Center with 226 attending. Elephant and Kitty Book Club, 2 programs, 8 attending. He also did virtual story time during the summer for those parents and children that couldn't attend otherwise, and 57 attended those. We had a tween book club, 4 programs, 15 attending. A teen book club, 3 programs with only 9 attending. Come on, teens. And our end of the summer party, we had 51 people attending that. We had 198 people who finished the summer reading program, so that's pretty good, 198. For the adult summer reading program, wrapping that up, we had 151 people who signed up, 38 people who finished, and 10 people who did extra credit. There's still extra credit out there even when you're an adult, yeah. So normally at this time during our monthly presentation, I tell you about the new books in our collection. Today I'm going to tell you it's going to be a little bit different because this month and for the past couple months, I have had the privilege of curating a collection for Danita in memory of Danita Alexander. So Danita was one of our favorite patrons. She was in the library as often as possible. Towards the end of her life, she wasn't able to leave her home, so she would call and ask reference questions. And she loved the library, so she asked that her memorials be directed to the library. So I curated a collection for her and kind of trying to keep in mind the type of person that she was and how much she loved the library and how much she loved to learn. So I'm just going to give you the titles of the books that I purchased in her memory. Admiral of the Ocean Sea, that's about Christopher Columbus. Blood and Treasure, about Daniel Boone. Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. Classical Greece, The Confessions of St. Augustine. Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. History of the World. Inca, Lost Civilization. Kindred, Neanderthal Life. Month of the Freezing Moon, talking about the Sand Creek Massacre in November of 1864. My Life with the Eskimo. The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt. A Short History of Nearly Everything. A Stillness of Appomattox. The Good Earth, The Things They Carried, and The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. So these are quite a variety of books, but it does symbolize Danita and the person that she was. She loved to learn about everything. We are there. The library is there for those people who want to learn about just a little bit of thing or want to learn about a lot of things. We are there. We try to keep our collection current, and we welcome everybody. We did have, moving on, we did have a huge book sale during the citywide garage sale. We did very well. We want to thank Paul Steele and Joe Prox from Parks and Rec for their help. And there was a lot of help needed, so thank you. We, now coming up, our fall programming is back again for the children. Monday nights at 6:30, we have story time. Tuesdays at either 10 or 2, the same program. We have story time then. We have baby time on Wednesdays at 10 o'clock. We have chess club on Tuesdays and Lego club on Wednesdays. Call us if you need details. And what you've been waiting for, our short film festival begins this Thursday at 6:30. We hope to see you there. You could pass these out.
There are several different times you can come to that, right?
Yes.
They're all shown at
Yes, thank you
each
for asking.
session.
Yes, so if you come, we have one on the 22nd, on the 24th, on the 25th, on the 29th, and then in October on the 1st and on the 2nd. We're going to be showing the same thing. These are just different dates that are available, so if you can choose whatever time is most convenient for you. We have 10 movies that will be shown. They're short movies, so you'll be there for approximately 2 hours. And there may be cake, I don't know.
Do you have, is it limited space? Do you have to have reservation?
You don't have to have reservations. We had this once before and it wasn't really well known, so we got a nice amount of people, but not overflowing. We're trying to advertise this more, so hopefully it will be overflowing. We'll have to turn people away and have them come back.
So keep your eyes open, because it may, if it's real successful in the beginning, you may notify that you need reservations.
Yeah, we might have to have reservations.
Okay.
If I have reservations, can I come anyway?
If you don't have reservations? I will make this up.
So I can play on words if I have reservations. Okay, is it you and I, if I'm not using a pun?
It's late, I only had 1 cup of coffee.
I had about 6 today, so
I only had one.
I made up for it.
I'm kind of tired. Okay, so does anybody have any questions for me? No? Comments? No one?
I think that was a good selection of books. Thank you.
Yes,
Don't you think so?
I thought what you put together, those were some really interesting titles.
Yeah, I think she would be pleased,
Yeah.
very pleased. I would hope that when I pass, someone curates a lovely collection in my memory. They'll probably all be funny books, though. You'll do it? Okay, thanks. I'll give you
Your
some
sense of
ideas.
humor will be remembered.
I'll give you some ideas. Did everybody get, were there some left over? Okay. I'm sure the audience wants one too. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I want to try to make one.
I hope you come.
Okay, we'll move on to Pamela.
Good evening.
Good
Good evening.
Good evening, Pam.
Okay. You have a 13-page report, and I've been asked to do not so much time tonight as last time, so I'll try, okay? But you know, I'd love to talk about the senior center and everything going on there. No, he says. Okay, in August, 1,486 plus people came this year. Last year, compared to last year, it was 1,253 plus. So it's climbing. And I just want to take the opportunity, since we're on TV, we are looking for a volunteer instructor for Tai Chi or meditation. So if there's anybody out there interested, us seniors would like that at the senior center.
If you need anybody to do the Tai Shu, I can do that.
Yeah. Okay.
But not meditation.
No.
Not
You can't sit
meditation,
quietly.
huh? Okay. Coming up, we have some new things, or some things that are teaching or instruction. We have a stand up and move more class coming up new. That is not exercise, that is changing our behavior so we're not sitting at a desk or watching TV, sitting so much in hours in a row, which is not good for our health. There's a falls prevention. We already had that, I'm sorry, a falls prevention we had. Coming up is AED use and life-saving techniques on September 29th at 10:15. Everyone is welcome to come to that. We have a sip and swipe cafe coming up to learn about how to use technology. And that's on Wednesday starting October 5th, and it's from 10 to 11. We have a flu vaccination clinic coming up, and that's on Wednesday, October 12th. These you mark on your calendars, from 10:30 to 11:15. And we have Take the Mystery Out of Medicare coming up on Wednesday, October 12th, 3:30 to 5:30. And Medicare Open Enrollment Options is a different program, and that's on Monday, October 17th, 3:30 to 5. And that's because open enrollment starts October 15th and runs, I think, to the beginning of December. And volunteers. This year in August we had 202, and last year in August we had 139. So those are just numbers, but they show something. And looking ahead, everybody, we need volunteers for Halloween, on Halloween. And then we have our Arts and Craft Fair fundraiser on Saturday, November 19th, and we need volunteers for that too. Just to remind people, Halloween is coming up. And it is on Halloween in the evening. 4:30 to 6:30 is a party at the fairgrounds, and 5:15 is costume judging. And we have all the age categories, including adult and teens, from 0 to 3 on up. And the 3 categories are cutest, most original, and scariest. So start planning and making your costumes. And we are also looking for sponsors for this. We need to raise the money to be able to do this for the children and families in our community. And the giving levels for sponsorship are Superhero, 500 and up, Genie, $250 to $499, Magician, $100 to $249, and Great Pumpkin, up to $99. So any amount would be grateful for. That's my quick report. Any questions?
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the planning and building inspection report. Shane, anything you want to highlight?
So you've got the August building permit report, and then Casey's got her August code enforcement violation report. And she also did what was asked by providing a year-to-date tally on different types of correction orders she sent out. And she's also attached a kind of a sample case, which was an ongoing nuisance property that has recently come into compliance, but that kind of gives you an idea. She lists out the activity types, the status, citations issued. And this is all available to any of the council members who want to follow up on anything in their district. She should already be sending you notice of the original original copy of the original order, and then any follow-up on each case. So.
Okay, any questions for Shane?
I do. Shane, on the code enforcement violation report, you have, well, Casey has some numbers in there, 18 through 20 public health nuisance. What's that all about? What's the 18?
That's the ordinance section. Chapter 18 is our environment ordinance. Okay. So all the nuisance complaints typically will fall under that chapter 18, either 1819 or some of them 1852 for vehicles.
Okay, I was just wondering what those meant. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, moving on, Chamber Convention and Visitors Bureau. Tina's not with us tonight, so we'll go to the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion for the approval of minutes from August 16th, 2022. Special beer permit application by Tomah Fire Department for November 5th, 2022. August 31, 2022, cash and investments report. Special beer and wine permit for the Tomah Chamber and Visitors. Actually, I'm going to go to, just leave it at C.
Item D should be deleted.
Yes, yeah, that's why I'm stopping at C.
I like the motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, I'm sorry, Dean. Opposed? Dean, or, Mitchell, I think you were the second, weren't you, Mitchell?
Yeah.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to postpone the special beer and wine permit for the Tomah Chamber Visitors Center for the night market event.
And caution to approve.
To propose postpone. Postpone.
Yeah, to postpone it.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of postponing?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion to, for the approval to add accident insurance to employees' benefit option.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion for the resolution accepting donation of property.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and Director Arity is going to give us some.
I believe Nellie had a question last night on the total acreage.
Yeah.
Found that for you tonight. 22.74 acres, and that's between the 7 parcels that are listed. Mitch had the question on usage. We, in talking with Joe Protz, we are looking at putting on the north side of Brownell area, more or less an extension of Fireman's Park and include the Frisbee, or disc golf, excuse me, is what the word is for that. And I think Joe touched on that last night. The Cooper property was pretty expensive to get that to the point where it would be usable. And this one would be relatively low impact, more or less just mowing and addition of whatever apparatuses they need for their disc golf functions. That was really the only things that I had for that.
Because that would make sense, so if there's long and linear, and golf courses, a lot of times they're long and linear, you could go down and come back and have different holes on your,
Yeah, I
on the way,
think
and
he was looking at including Fireman's Park as, you know, maybe a whole too, so.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other parcels by the airport, really undetermined at this point.
Would you like an idea?
Always open for ideas that have little impact to our budget.
I think we could lot it off for houses on the airport and have, similar to, what's that called, John? What's the special name for it?
Like an airport community,
Yeah,
like Holman.
yeah.
So I think the first step in that would be to obviously get it approved, but then I think just looking at it, there would be some good possibilities that it is wetland oriented, but you never know until you get the delineation done, so. Always a good idea.
I could have neighbors.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion for the approval of offer to purchase land.
move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kiefer, second by Kale. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution for the payment of monthly bills.
Move to approve.
Second.
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion for the fire department hose purchase.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kiefer, second by Kale.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of updated truck driver job description.
Move to approve with adjustments made last night of additions to the descriptions of duties.
Motion by Yerington, seconded by Pater. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of resolution of 2022 comprehensive plan amendment public participation plan.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kiefer, seconded by Glenn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and consideration of downtown design standard zoning ordinance amendments, first reading. Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
To waive the first.
To waive the first verbatim reading.
Sorry, I was just reading.
That's okay.
Kiefer. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we have to do the second.
Nope, they just wanted the first reading
Okay.
tonight.
Amendment of ordinance section 8-1 and 8-61, housing of farm and exotic animals, waiving of first reading.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Glenn, seconded by Peter. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Amendment of ordinance section 18-129, substitute buildings, waiving the first reading. Entertain a motion.
Motion to waive first verbatim reading.
Second.
Motion by Kiefer, seconded by Pater. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion regarding the Tomah Area Ambulance Service per capita rate increase.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
What will be the per capita rate?
The increase of $2.50 per month from the present rate.
From 15 to 17.50.
Pardon?
From $15 where it's currently at, going to 17.50. Yes, $2.50.
Do we have any idea of where would that where would the ambulance would like to see that per capita be in the, down the road? What are you looking at?
From a fiscal standpoint, I think it's pushing up in the $35 region, isn't it, Molly, for needed expenses down the road?
Very subjective. Depends on who you ask.
It's very, yeah.
Well, but again, it's from a budgetary standpoint. I mean, again, in my household, I have a budget, but it's something, if a water pipe bursts, that throws my budget out the window, you know?
The one thing that was discussed, I'll highlight it real quickly, was the one thing that we promised the city, the villages, the township is a 911 truck, right? We're gonna have one ambulance available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So it will take 6 people. There's 2 people on an ambulance, two staff members. So by paying their wages, alone to today's wage comes out to about $24. That's just, so now we're not talking about the ambulances, we're not talking about the drugs, the supplies, the fuel, we're not talking about the building or utilities or training or any of the other staff members' employee benefits or wages. It's just those 6 people. And it would take $24 just to cover that.
So that's
So we're only at $17.50, so
I get it.
there's some tough decisions to be made coming up here on where it needs to be.
Yeah, I was just asking.
Yep. Thank you, though.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion to accept the tally report for the August 9th, 2022 partisan primary election.
So motion to approve.
Peter,
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second. Third.
Motion and a second en masse. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are
That tally was correct, right?
Yes.